Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your January 2019 mid-month general readings. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Welcome to any people who are here for the first time. Thanks for all your support, feedback, and comments for those of you who continue to follow my channel. And all your likes, shares, and subscribes. And thanks to all of my clients out there, both regular and new, for reaching out for those personal readings which keep me so busy and occupied. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. If any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, as most of you who follow me know, but I always say it for new people, you can get more info and contact details by clicking on the description bar of any of the videos I post, or you can go to my YouTube channel's homepage and click on the little About button there. You can email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you. I can usually get back to you within the first day or the first 24 hours of initial contact with more info. And turnaround time is pretty good too. I do readings full time, 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. It is all that I do. So I'm pretty diligent at working with people's schedules. And I do a wide variety of readings in all areas of life. So send me an email if you're interested. We'll go from there. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy, and that link is also provided. And that's good for there's a variety of packages I offer there too, but it's really good. Also, most people use it for one question, one answer options, or quick answers to the quick, easier questions. But if it's a more complex situation, a traditional reading I always think is best. But something else for you to think about. All right, let's move right into this reading. This is for Scorpio, the water sign of Scorpio, for the remainder of January 2019. So we're looking at the last couple of weeks here of January for our Scorpios. All right, Scorpio, we have the Seven of Pentacles with the Six of Swords. And we have the Wheel of Fortune with the Eight of Swords. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and guidance is Judgment. I feel like in the reading at the beginning of the month, which looked at the month overall, Scorpio, there was a decision to make, and a lot of signs are kind of facing that. Of course, I think Mercury is just coming out of retrograde in just a few days, and just a lot of the astronomical and astrological changes that have been going on. End of one year, beginning of a new year, all wonderful opportunities where Spirit allows old cycles and old things to resurface again, particularly ones that are no longer useful for us, to give us the opportunity to end cycles and move into a new phase. So I have been over the last month or so seeing a lot of decision making or choices as to whether to end something and move into a new direction, or end a cycle in something and take it in a new direction. Your overall energy is Judgment. I feel you had this, I don't know if you had this card at the beginning of the month, but definitely choices and options in front of you. Judgment usually shows up when there's a decision to be made, and how you proceed with that choice and that decision is going to set the stage for something for quite some time. There's an air of finality to Judgment, which means whatever choice you make, whatever decision you make, or whatever you set into motion, action, you're not really going to be able to come back from it, at least not easily. So, of course, the advice is to always choose. Don't be spontaneous and impulsive. Carefully look at all of your options and the pros and cons of each one. Operate with as much personal honor and integrity as possible, and make the decision based on what you feel is truly the right thing to do, which isn't always necessarily what our heart or our emotions want us to do. But this is about making careful decisions because you're responsible for the outcome. And that's what Judgment really means. I mean, to be judged means to be called to answer for what we've done, what we've chosen, not what we wanted, wished for, intended, hoped for, but what we actually did, because we're answerable for that. So, and it sends a message not only to the people around us, but to our own selves as well, particularly in, our own personal character, honor, integrity. So make this decision keeping all of those things in mind. So we have around the middle of the month or so, and of course these are general readings, so the timing is going to vary a bit. The details and specifics may vary, but the energy and advice remains the same. That's always why we suggest you watch your rising and your moon sign, because that can either resonate more predictively or add more clarification. So we have the Seven of Pentacles and the Six of Swords. So the Seven of Pentacles is a card of taking stock of what you have, of the harvest. It's not a full complete harvest, which would be a 10, because 10s represent cycles ending or a completion phase where then you move on into something else. It's a decent harvest, and it represents that, whatever the situation is in your life, you've put a lot of work into it, but you may feel stuck at a certain place in it. And in that place, you're kind of taking a look at what you have, whether it's a job, work, career, spiritual path, a health issue, or a personal relationship, love and romance, or best friend. You're taking a look at that and saying, well, it's gotten this far, it's lasted this long, and it's been pretty good in a lot of ways, and I've put all of this work into it. Sometimes this card can feel like you've hit a point and you want it to go to a 10, but you're not sure if it really can. So this is what this card represents. It's a card of contemplation, reflection, taking a look at the efforts you've put in and what have those efforts gotten you. Did you get back what you expected to? Have you gotten back more or less? Is it worth continuing? Is it worth continuing to invest in? Does it realistically have the strong potential of moving forward? Now it's clarified by the Six of Swords, which is a card of peace, healing, restoration. Sometimes there's a little sadness, quietness associated with the energy of this card, because if it's healing from something that happened that was challenging or painful or traumatic, especially the initial healing period can sometimes be challenging, like post-surgery. We have good days, we have bad days, but overall it tends to get better. You've definitely left the worst behind. You're not to the other shore yet and on solid ground, but you're definitely moving towards that. And you're taking your thoughts, your ideas, your perspectives, the lessons learned, which is what the swords represent, with you, because swords are air energy and they represent what goes on in our heads, our belief systems and ideologies and perspectives and perceptions, because that affects the way that we look at the world, people in the world, and communicate our own words and our ideas out. So you're taking these lessons and these experiences with you. So for some of you, for many of you, I feel like this decision making or choice energy is still kind of in front of you, and I feel like a lot of you are taking, thinking very carefully about the situation. For example, if it's a job, work, career situation, you may feel like you've put in a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort, but you may feel like you have hit a ceiling. Do you, based on what you've gotten back for your efforts, do you feel like it's worth continuing? The same thing in a relationship. Some of you, I feel like many of you still have this choice or decision to make whether to continue investing in something or not. Some of you may have already made this decision or choice in the beginning of the month, and this Seven of Pentacles and Six of Swords energy represents the process as you're moving from the decision you've made. It may have been a difficult decision, but you're moving forward and you're spending a lot of time thinking and contemplating, what you put in and maybe what lessons you learned and what you can change moving forward into another situation. And some of you, I feel like more of you still have this decision in front of you and you're really spending a lot of time kind of thinking about it. And if this has been a very difficult situation, like in a personal relationship and there's been a lot of difficulties, a breakup or a separation, you may be healing. I feel like you're asking yourself if there's enough invested in this and enough remaining to move forward, remaining in the situation, although needing to make some changes to do that successfully or go in your separate directions. Now, at or towards the end of the month, we have the Wheel of Fortune and the Eight of Swords. So the Wheel of Fortune is God, Spirit, your angels and guides, divine timing and orchestration. I feel like whatever this situation is, that it is divinely cradled, meaning it may not have been created, the situation, by Spirit, but it is an opportunity that Spirit has allowed to bring into your life, to bring something back up in order to give you the opportunity to deal with it in a way that's good and healthy for you and put a cycle to an end so that you can move forward in a different way, regardless of what area of your life this is and regardless of whether it's job or whether it's relationship. and ending cycles don't always necessarily, for example, relationships. Ending cycles don't always necessarily mean the relationship ends, but it means that the way that the relationship has been going, a certain pattern to it that's not useful or that's actually harmful needs to end so that it can move in a fresh new direction, and you can get out of the Seven of Pentacles energy and move on to the Eight, and so on and so forth. And I feel like this whole situation is definitely karmic and meant to be here. But the Wheel of Fortune is clarified by the Eight of Swords, which is a card of feeling trapped. But because it's swords, and swords represents what goes on in here, that's the only thing actually keeping this woman feeling like she's trapped, like she can't make a decision, like she can't free herself from this. And it might be a situation where, if it's a job, maybe it's a job that you're not satisfied with, maybe you've hit a ceiling with it, or career path, or a project, and but you feel like you're kind of trapped in it because that's what pays the bills, or you have all this seniority, and if you go somewhere else, you'll have to start, over new again, and would you get the same amount of money or the hope? As sometimes it's, we tend to justify staying in a situation instead of leaving it or trying to change it, because the devil we know is better than the devil that we don't know. Familiarity in and of itself, habit, is a very strong pull. And I feel this for you, Scorpio, regardless of whether it's personal relationships, love and romance, work and career. But what Spirit is telling you here, Scorpio, is that this is an opportunity for you. If this is a relationship, like a love and romance relationship, and you want to move forward with it in a healthier, healing direction, and that's the desire of your heart, but your partner isn't willing to put in the same level of effort and work to do that, then, in order to put yourself on a path where you can have the joyful, fulfilling relationship that you want and that you need and that Spirit wants you to have, then you would have to make a decision to, leave that relationship. Because if it's a relationship that's, that you're not happy in overall, I mean, every relationship has its challenges, then that means that the one that you're meant to be with, and vice versa, is still out there. Difficult decision to make. And again, I feel like the thing that keeps you in this, and maybe afraid to kind of speak the truth or draw a line or state where you are because it's going to be taken as an ultimatum, I feel like it's because of the length of time and effort you've put into whatever this is. And that's what's kind of making you feel trapped, but you're not. It's illusionary. Nobody's actually keeping her trapped here. She can walk out between these swords. She can stand up on her own feet. These chains wrapped around her wrists aren't connected to anything or anyone. She could see her situation for what it really is and free herself from it. Of course, it takes effort, and everything comes at a cost, but that's just life. So again, I don't feel like many of you are actually making this decision, and some of you it may be more challenging, again, because of the length of time and effort you have put into this. But if this truly doesn't really have the realistic potential of going, where you need it to go, then that means that it's time for you to go. And I'm often, and I have been with readings lately, reminded of this saying, don't refuse to leave a mistake simply because you spent a lot of time making it. And it doesn't mean that if you leave something you've invested a lot of time and effort into, that time and effort is wasted. No path which has lessons lacks value. Every path that we take, that we learn lessons on, even if sometimes those lessons come at a kind of painful cost, they're valuable. It's not that the time or the love or the effort was wasted, especially if it got to a point where the road in front of you became more clear. So keep that in mind, Scorpio, for those of you who find this, that you have difficulty making this decision because of the time you've put into it. It's about looking at the Seven of Pentacles is not just about taking stock of the time and effort you've put into it. That's part of it. But it's also looking forward and asking yourself, can this harvest get to a 10 instead of a 7? And if not, am I willing to compromise that it stays where it's at or not? Let's pull a couple of advice guidance cards for how best to navigate this for you. For how best you can navigate this for you. we have the Four of Swords, taking a step back, rest, recovery, and contemplation, maybe taking a bit better care of yourself during this time. The Queen of Swords, insight, clarity, truth. I feel like even though emotions are to be considered and they are an influencing factor, I feel like ultimately, Scorpio, you need to make sure that whatever decision you choose, that you're doing it based on what is the truth here, not maybe what you want it to be or hope it could be or daydream about it being, but what you realistically think the potential for this growing and developing anymore is, and making your decision based on that. And taking the time to do that. I don't feel like a lot of you are being encouraged by Spirit to make this decision during the month of January, particularly in the second half. Some of you may already have, and of course we live in a free will zone. If you choose to make this decision, it's completely up to you. Every path, there's lots of options, and every path has value because there's lessons on it. But I feel like for many of you, Spirit is asking you to be very, very careful about this, because it's going to set the stage for something for some time, positive or negative. If you're leaving a situation that you feel can't become what you need it to be, what you want it to be, what Spirit maybe wants it to be for you, then making the choice to walk away even though it's difficult cuts off a certain cycle, opens up another one, which Spirit comes in and meets and matches, and it gives a message not only to other people but to yourself. I care about myself, I care about where I'm going, and I care about my own joy and fulfillment, because I am partially responsible for manifesting my own path as well. So I'll just leave it there, Scorpio. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful. Again, those of you who are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, you can click on the description bar of any of the videos I post, or you can go to my YouTube channel's homepage, click on that little About button. Email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I'd be happy to work with you. I do love and romance, of course, relationship compatibility charting, reconciliation potential, career, work, and finance, and investment readings. And I also do 6 and 12-month overviews, which are pretty popular this time of the year, although people order them all during the year. But particularly as we're, end one year and begin another one, people like to take a look ahead, because these are spreads that take a look at what's coming in all the main areas of your life over a 6 or 12-month period, depending on how far ahead you want to look. So something else for you to consider. Okay, Scorpio, I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the February 2019 general readings. And until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. And I hope you continue to have a lovely new start to this new year. Take care. Bye-bye.